This is the our art podcast. You can't do visual things. People are listening.
I know, right?
I think this is going to make us better at talking because we have to keep in mind that some people are just listening. So we can't just nod.
I know. I'm so bad for nodding. I'm already like falling back into that.
Or it's like an easy way to get the other person to keep talking. You just nod.
Yeah, I'll just do that to you and it'll just be like a solo podcast. Yeah, I don't do a lot of video stuff either. So I think like this is going to be great for me. Like get myself out of my comfort zone a bit, learn how to pronunciate words better.
Oh, same. I mumble so much.
Me too.
Or I'll say sentences that don't make sense and I hope the other person understands what I mean.
Yeah, that's like half of my speech. So bad. Yeah, we have like 1 second pause and I'm like, oh shit, like what do we do now?
We can edit it though. It's okay.
I'm excited to see where this podcast goes. Not a lot of good art podcasts out there.
No, every podcast I've tried to listen to before when I'm drawing, I'm like, hey, it would be cool to learn about art while I'm drawing. They're so boring. The voice is like this old person being like, so monotonous. And it's like, geez, I want to listen to something a little bit exciting or fun.
For sure. And a lot of the art podcasts are either about art history or like crazy art, like contemporary art sales. But I want something more like relevant to me. So I think this is the perfect thing for that.
It's cool too because we're both artists and I don't know, I feel like it's an interesting perspective from both of us to talk about how we view the art world or what's going on. I would like if more artists made podcasts, to be honest.
Yeah, we can get guests on. That's going to be so fun. I can't wait.
I'm so excited. We have an amazing lineup already of people who
already have like 3+ people already. Like,
yeah.
And we haven't even announced anything yet. We haven't even done the first episode yet.
It's so funny. We posted the mock-up and I got all these DMs like, I tried to search on Spotify, but I couldn't find it.
Oh my. Yeah, I know. I got that too.
I was like, no, we were just kidding.
Another.
Hey, we have awkward pauses right now, but as we keep going, I feel like it's going to get better.
Yeah, for sure. I think another thing cool about our podcast is that we're both young artists and still growing, right? So it's going to be really interesting to like look back at these when like, you know, we were like 17 and 21 in like 5 years now, like see how far we've gotten. Or yeah, I'm excited to look back at these. We haven't even started.
That's so nuts. Oh my God. Like crazy things are going to happen. We don't even know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen in a few months. Oh, it's so exciting.
You're going to blow up. You're going to go Hollywood and then ditch the podcast. I'm just going to be doing a solo pod.
Dude, they were going to make a movie about... No. Oh, but you know what's cool too? The guests we'll have on too. Like all the artists, our friends that we talk to, they're going to be on the podcast and they're going to blow up and we can be like, hey, can you come back on the podcast?
Yeah.
And they'll be like,
now
sure.
That you're like huge.
And we can ask about the art world. And I feel like it's a good teacher, like talking about this stuff. Because when I wanted to learn about art, you kind of just stare at Twitter and look at what other people are doing and try to guess what they're doing, maybe ask, but I don't know. I get shy to ask.
Yeah, for sure. And like I don't share a ton about like the behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. It's just because I don't even think about it, right? But a lot of people are interested in like how people get to where they are, right? So if we can like have an artist on, get some like behind the scenes knowledge of like what they do, what's their process, like that's gonna be so valuable.
And I feel like only with really big artists, you learn about how they got into art. But there's so many artists in this world, you know, like full of artists. And if we bring on these people, we could be like, oh, how did you get into art? And to really understand each other and learn our similarities or how one little minuscule thing that didn't seem like it mattered really contributed to who we are today. And I don't know, I like exploring subjects like that.
For sure. And I think there's so many different ways to become an artist now that the mainstream videos you just hear about like Banksy or something, like such a crazy route, but there's so many ways. So if we can like learn from other artists how they did it, I think that could really help a lot of people to make it seem more attainable, right? So we want to have guests. I think that's going to be like a huge part of this. Like maybe every week, every other week, we'll have like a different guest on, hopefully. learn about their process, their like come up, how they got to where they are, and like try to like source questions from people on Twitter or something so we can like
Yeah, that'll
have an
be
even
so
better
fun.
idea.
Follow us on our art pod on Twitter and
Be our
Instagram.
be our fourth follower
Yeah, we only have 3 followers. We're famous.
to start. Not bad.
One thing that I think is cool, like me and you, we never talked on the phone. We would just text, not even through iMessage, just little DMs or little replies. So I didn't know you and you didn't know me. And only until we did the collab and started talking a lot on the phone, like we got to know each other more and be close. And I feel what's so cool about these interviews is that a lot of these artists don't really show themselves or talk. So to hear from them and hear their voice, it's like, oh, this is the person behind the art. And maybe you can gather more meaning from certain pieces that they talk about. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't even mean to be anonymous. Like, I feel like a lot of my followers don't even know what I look like. And it's not like I care. It's not like I'm like worried people are going to like judge me. Just, I never think about that, right? But if I like think about all the artists that I really enjoy, it's not just their work, right? It's like getting to know them, seeing them, their like process, the behind the scenes. So if I think we can get like some other artists on here, like start to ease them into that as well, that's gonna be
Yeah.
great.
And it's just gonna be so fun because I love art. I love making art, but just I'm a fan of art. So to get these
Yeah.
artists that I see online all the time and to talk to them and see them and their little mannerisms, there's little things you don't think about, you know? And then to pick their brain and be like, oh, what did this mean? Or like what are you up to? Or just what's your
Yeah,
process? Because every artist has a different process and it's just so cool.
for sure. We're just gonna use this as a way to like talk to artists we like.
Basically. Like, hey, we have a podcast. I'm nosy. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this goes. We're gonna try to do one every week, every Tuesday, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then hopefully it gets a lot better. And we're
Yeah,
like,
this one, look, y'all. Thank you. Whoever's listening to this, thank you.
I'm sorry. I apologize, but I appreciate you.
Just think about the potential we have for like episode 100 or something.
This is an investment.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I've been reading my business book. What is the next term? What I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm a businessman, so
Consider this an investment.
yeah, really.
That's so funny.
I know, honestly, like that's super silly. Obviously it's not investment, but I think we're going to get really good at this. It's going to be a lot more comfortable. And I think it's actually going to be an interesting resource for people to listen to, because I genuinely think we have a really interesting, like really weird position right now where we're young, but we're doing it. And I think like we could really help out a lot of people, kind of show them like how we got to this point, what they could do.
It's hard to find places where it's just artists talking, like just talking. It's always like a
Yeah.
weird interview that that's too structured.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'll be like when I listen to any podcast I can find with an artist, I get so inspired. So I hope this is inspiring to other people. I already know it's going to be inspiring to me. Just even just when you and I get off the phone and talk about our thoughts on life or the future or whatever, I get so hyped and inspired. And I feel like after all
Yeah,
these, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, let's go make art, art. You know, like I'm so
for
excited.
sure. I think that's like the biggest goal. If we can like just get someone excited to make something after listening to us or something, like
Yeah.
just get them inspired a little. Like that's the biggest goal.
Or I got a few DMs of people being like, I'm gonna draw while I listen to this. So that's insane. That
Yeah.
someone's gonna be making art and hopefully listening to this. That could be happening right now. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Shout outs to that person drawing and listening to this. You're
Yeah.
awesome. What else should we talk about?
Yeah, I guess we can't
We
talk
can't. The whole
about the
podcast can't be the whole
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah.
For the-
Yeah. Let's not make the whole podcast about a podcast,
100 episodes of being like, we're gonna make a cool podcast.
Yeah. Eventually after this podcast.
Should we just talk about our day?
Sure. Yeah.
Or is that
How was your
boring?
day
Oh,
today?
but you were in art school
Yeah.
and
I'm
you had
in
class. Okay, yeah,
I
this is
did.
something we should talk about. Hello, JW. You're in art school. Talk
Hey,
about it.
yeah. Art school's cool. I realized you asked me about my day and I'm like talking
You're
about
just
like
your theory on life.
yeah. Well,
No, just
anyways,
talk
art school's
whatever.
cool. Yeah. I had class today. It's pretty cool.
You said it was a
It's really
critique.
weird with yeah, it's like a midterm critique, so we're just showing our progress so far. Honestly, with Zoom calls, it's kind of weird because it with critiques, you normally just like showcase your art. People look at it, they comment on it, and most of the time, like they'll comment on it before you even say anything about it, right? But
How?
with like Zoom calls, they'll just like go up to it and be like, "Oh, I like this. Like
Oh, but in a
this
Zoom call,
works
you
really
have to
well."
show them.
Yeah, and it becomes a presentation, right? So it's like you have to talk about your work first. You have to explain everything, and I don't enjoy that about it. But it's been good, like forcing me to learn how to talk about my work more.
So what do you say? Do you sound
Just
annoying? Are you like, look at this? Oh.
yeah, the street signs are actually a deeper symbol of life and death.
Telling me where to go, when to stop.
Yeah, when to you do a U-turn.
I use green because
No, I'm never
go.
like that. I'm never that bad. I mean, sometimes like you kind of have to bullshit your way through something, but if you actually try, you're good.
Is anyone
So
mean
yeah,
to
I had
you?
class today. Sometimes, yeah. I
Wait, so
honestly,
if someone doesn't like something in the critique, do you guys tell each other like, "Hey,
yeah,
oh my
like
god."
that's a good critique though. Like most of them, people are really uncomfortable, so they'll just be like, "Oh, like it's nice," and like you don't get anything from that, right? So I'd
Mhm.
rather have someone be like, "Oh, like this doesn't work. This is like done poorly. Like you should have done this different." Like I really appreciate when people are like that because they're never like that.
People are going to listen to this and be in Twitter like, "I hate this."
Yeah. Yeah, but at least with the critique, you're like asking for it. When you're just on Twitter and someone's like, "This sucks," like
I
that's not
know. It's
really
like
helpful.
I just put this out there just cuz I'm minding my business. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does the teacher say anything or is it just students?
Oh, it's mostly the teacher, honestly.
Oh. They're like, "No, the
With
teacher
Zoom
doesn't say
calls, like
anything."
yeah, Zoom calls, like everyone's so quiet, right? Like you can like not be at your computer and no one's gonna call you out, right? So that's definitely a downside of having art school online. I almost like don't want to do this semester and just wait until like I can go back.
Hmm.
Yeah. Are you planning on doing any art school after?
I want to. Art school, at first I was so stubborn. I was like, "No." But I don't know. I feel like it would be good to just learn. There's so many little art things that I don't know about. And even like something as simple as like a little tool that I wouldn't know to even use it or know to even do research on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, part of me is like, I want to go to art school so I can learn all the basics and everything. And then
Yeah.
after school, I can have the tools and do whatever I want. But also, part of
Yeah,
me is like, I don't want to go to school. I want to just do whatever I want.
for sure.
And I don't know. How
I
do you
think the
balance school
first
and
year of
art?
art school. Oh, sorry.
How do you balance school and art? Because that's something I'm worried about. Like, I'm worried I'm gonna go into art school and I want to learn a lot, but I'm nervous it's gonna hinder everything
Right.
else.
Well, yeah, you definitely have to kind of make an agreement where it's like I'm going to make work for school to figure out what I'm trying to say and it's probably not going to be that good or it's not going to be good for Twitter, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have a better understanding of what you're trying to say with your art. So it's like a good investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the times, like the work I make for school, I still sell. Like I'll make prints of it. Like it's not a huge issue usually. Um, yeah, and it's definitely sometimes though where it's like I do not want to do school right now, and I'll just like draw whatever I want, and then try to like fit it into a school context.
So have you had moments where you think about school and you're like, I don't know.
A couple times,
I don't know if I
honestly,
should be
where
in school.
yeah, it was like the way my school goes about it first year, they like make you try everything. Like I was in a sewing class, like
Oh, wow.
sewing, like screen printing, painting, drawing. I never did any sculpture classes, but they really make you try like everything just because you get so comfortable, right? Um, so during those classes, sometimes it was like, what am I doing? Like I'm paying money to like like make yarn. But like when you get further on in your schooling, like you start to understand what you're trying to do and it becomes a lot more enjoyable.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So you're happy you're in art school.
I love it. Especially with COVID, like last semester, about halfway through, it got canceled. Like
Mm-hmm.
it became like they weren't even like, yeah, we're going to do it online. It was just like semester's over, whatever your grade is now, like that's it. And I don't like before it, I was kind of burnt by school. I was like, oh, I just want this to be over. And then COVID happens and I can't go to school. I'm like, I started to miss it. And like, really, it really showed me like how crazy of an experience this is to be surrounded by like all these different artists. Like, it's so inspiring being around that many people, right? And the teachers are all artists. Yeah, I love it.
Do the teachers and stuff know about you and like what you do outside of school?
I I think some of them do.
Really?
I actually have a like crazy. It's really not that crazy of a story, but it like really boosted my ego one day.
Ooh, tell
I was
me.
in a presentation. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
was in a presentation, right? And we are talking about this artist. Her name was like Joanne or something. So J-O. And then the
Uh-huh.
teacher goes to type in her name and then he types J-O and like my website pops up. I'm like, why were you on my website, man?
That's so cool. So he knows who you
Yeah,
are.
for sure.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
that was
that.
crazy. I say crazy, but like it's really not that
Did
crazy.
everyone see
But
that? They were like,
I bet like maybe one other person noticed.
if I
Maybe.
was there, I would have thrown paper at you, been like, oh my God, I saw that.
But yeah, if you can go to art school and it's not gonna like financially ruin you, I would recommend it.
That's crazy because
Yeah,
that's
would
something I have to really think about, because I'm almost out of high school.
yeah, you're in your last year, right?
Yeah. And it's crazy because it's like, I don't know. Part of me is like, I just want to focus on like doing clothes and clothing drops and all this stuff that I'm doing now. But I think about my future and my life and I'm like, how long is art school?
It's like normally 4 to 5 years.
Yeah. So I think about those 4 years and I'm like, those are 4 years that I could really learn a lot and
Yeah,
extend throughout my life and maybe in the future go to more classes for different things.
for sure.
And so I think about maybe I'm being stubborn just because I see right now and I just want to focus on right now. But I feel like not going to school would, I don't know. But part of me is like, everyone's brainwashing me. I
I
don't
don't
want to
think
go.
so. I think the biggest thing about art school is like giving you a better grasp on what you're trying to say with your art. Like, don't go to art school if you're like trying to learn how to like paint or something, like just watch YouTube for that, right? Which sounds
Mhm.
crazy, but you can just go to YouTube, learn how to paint if you want to learn how to paint, right? But if you want to like learn what you're trying to say with your art, how to affect that better, like that's when I would recommend art school.
Dang. I'm going to bother you more about this when I
For
get
sure,
closer to
yeah.
that because I don't know. That's been like my thing lately. Like I have commissions and all this, but it's just like, well, after this, well, I don't know. Sometimes with social media, I'll admit, I feel I get so caught up on numbers or like fame. I don't know the right
Yeah,
word. And people seeing my art or the whole ego behind, I want to be like a well known artist. I want everyone to know who I am. And then I'm like, what is that about? Like, who cares? Like, I just want to make cool art and have fun. I don't know why I focus on that. And I don't know. I feel that's been my little internal dilemma.
Yeah. And with school, like you will really think about like, am I doing this for social media or is this like actually what I'm trying to say with my work?
Right.
And that's huge because like it's so easy just to make like drawings will do well,
Mm-hmm.
but aren't you, right? So if you can find a balance, and I feel like that's what school has really helped me with is like I'm have a much better grasp of what I'm trying to say and like I'm authentic to myself still, right? Yeah, it's tough though. I totally get why people wouldn't want to go.
How has that affected you? Like, remember that week where 4 of your posts just went like crazy viral?
Yeah,
I imagine in your work that must affect something. Like, did you think about that? You're like, I don't know.
like how like affect my work, like I'm trying to cater it to go viral.
Yeah. Or just thought about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm in a really interesting spot where I don't know how to say it, but like a lot of the things I'm trying to like create are relatable and shareable. So I'm like
Mm-hmm.
lucky in that way where it's like I want to draw this dumb dog because I think it's funny, whatever. And then people like it and they share it, which is cool, like whatever. But there is sometimes where it's like, am I like, do I really want to draw a meme again? You know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a meme guy, right?
Yeah, like I see people
So
always send you memes of animals and stuff. I imagine
yeah,
you see that and it's like heartened, like you're happy because, oh, people are thinking about me. But in a
yeah,
way, does it feel like a little box kind of?
kind of. Sometimes it's like I wouldn't say really a box. Like I'm totally fine if my work doesn't go viral. Like as long as I'm enjoying the work, that's what matters to me, right? So I feel grateful though that like a lot of the time I can make these drawings and it's like that's what I wanted to make and it blew up. Cool. You know, it's like that's not why I made it though. You
Yeah.
know, I think when it is like, oh, I made this to go viral, that's when I know like I should like shift my focus a bit more.
And so when you have that mindset, like, oh, you think you're thinking about that while you're working on it, what do you do to like reset or to fix that?
That's a I probably just go to bed.
Really? You just go to bed?
I don't know. I that honestly doesn't really come up a lot. That one week, like I did have a lot of stuff that like went crazy. I don't even remember what that was, but like those were all things I wanted to draw. So I don't know. I don't think I'm that like conscious of it, or at least it doesn't come up that often, which I'm happy about.
No, that's good.
Do you ever think about that though? Like I feel like it's almost impossible not to think about what your audience is going to think about your work
Yeah.
when you're creating it.
It's weird. It's especially weird when I think about the art I used to post when I first joined Twitter and how I would only get like 10 likes or like 20
Yeah.
people would see it. And I'd get like one reply, and the replies I'd be like, "Oh my god, someone cared enough to type something out, even if it was just like
Yeah.
cool, you know?" And I think about when I started to get a little more traction and how my art changed a little bit. And I'm like, well, people started liking it more when my art changed. But it's like, no, I kind of just kept being consistent and like, and my style
Right.
evolved. But sometimes my brain is like, no, you changed your art so more people liked it. When it's no, I just was doing art for a long time and I was evolving naturally. And sometimes people liked certain pieces and sometimes they didn't. I feel like kind of compare myself a lot to that. I'm like, oh, maybe this. Or I feel sometimes when I'm drawing, I'll want to write something and I'm like, this is too much. I feel I'm doing too much. And the fact that I added that line that I thought maybe was too much is always the reason why people are like, I connected to this. I liked this. Like, this meant a lot to me. And so when people tell me how much they connected to the art, I'm like, oh, wait, you guys care. I don't know. I feel sometimes with social media, I'm like, nobody cares. They just look and then they go on about their day. But people are looking and people are seeing. And I feel there is so much nonsense that, in a way, to be true to yourself is more valuable. Does that make sense?
For sure. I think that's going to translate to the viewer a lot more than
Right.
creating like surface level art, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they're going to see it, it's going to look cool, keep going, right? But you
Mm-hmm.
create something authentic to yourself, that's going to come off and people are going to see that.
Right.
Yeah, it's a weird balance where it's like you want people to enjoy your work, right? But you want to be authentic. So it's like you almost can't even think about it.
That's so weird.
I don't, yeah, it really is.
Sometimes I'm like, I
I
don't know
think
what I'm
just
doing.
posting art in general. No, I get that a lot too. This week has been really weird for me.
How
Past
so?
like almost 2 weeks, really. I've had like my like first artist block in like
I saw you
months.
post about
Like,
that. What's up?
yeah, it was weird. I think it's a little bit of, well, I think it's mostly just social media, really. Like,
Hmm.
I was making stuff and I would just like stop. I'd be like, oh, like this isn't going to do well. And then I was like, why am I thinking like that? Like, that's the worst way to think. Cause like, you're going to kill so many great ideas just because you don't think other
Yeah.
people will like it. But it's like, why are you even thinking about other people right now? Like, you should just be making work for yourself, right?
Uh-huh.
And
But it's
I
hard
think
to
I just,
ignore that little monster in your head being like,
yeah,
no one's
for
gonna like it.
sure.
It's hard to ignore that.
And especially hard because like it's our job, right? And it's not like we're creating a body of work for a gallery show. It's like every day, like you have to figure out something, like what you're trying to do. So it's really easy to think about the viewer and how
Hmm.
like this is going to translate to that, right? So I think I just got in my head too much about that, and then I just got like sick of it for a bit. I was like, I don't want to think about that constantly while I'm drawing. So I just took like
Yeah.
a week off. Feeling a lot better though. I've been painting a lot recently. It's been good.
Have you been watching movies or like? I guess you're reading.
Yeah,
So like, what have you been up to kind of loosen up?
mostly just reading and like exercising. Just like total opposite of art. Just not even thinking about painting. I say now a lot. I'm noticing that with the podcast.
It's okay.
But
I say I don't know a
anyways,
lot.
yeah, we'll fix that after a while. I think one thing though about like COVID that's really affected me is I didn't like really understand how much like external sources inspire me.
Hmm.
Like on my commute to school, like I take the train to school, right? So I'd read for like half an hour every morning, and then on my way home I'd read on the way back, take photos of like cool graffiti I see on the train and
I
like
didn't know you did
weird
that.
looking, yeah, just like stuff you see downtown, right? That really
That's so
inspires me,
cool.
just like being outside, right? So being stuck in my house, like not commuting to school or anything, like I'm surprised at how much that's affected my art and like my
No, that's a
creativity in
big
general.
deal. Just looking at your art, I mean, I imagine those would be your inspirations, but I didn't know that's the practice.
Yeah,
Like that's what would go on. And just seeing even something like like the street polls, like stuff like that, that's a big part of it. And I never thought about how that would affect
yeah,
you because all of your art is outside stuff and like
yeah.
buildings and all of that. Oh, that's crazy. I never thought about that.
And like ironically, I never thought about it either. At the beginning of quarantine here, I don't even know how long ago that was. I was like, why am I like not creative? Like what's going on? And I realized like being creative is more than just like showing up to my studio. It's like all these external
True.
sources, right?
No, I get like that. I love movies. I love watching movies. But the thing is, sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I feel guilty. I'm like, what am I doing? I should be drawing right now. Or I'll play like, a video game and I'll be like, what am I doing? Go draw. Like, why are you? I'm like, you're being lazy to myself. And I'll
Yeah.
go a long time without watching a movie or playing games. And then once I finally watch a movie that I was so stubborn to watch, I'll sit and watch it, not go on my phone, nothing. And after I watch that movie, I'm like, oh my God, I'm inspired. And I'll go and draw something just based off that little thing I watched. Or I'll play a game and just seeing the art direction or thinking, oh, how did they make this? How did they do that? I have no idea, but it's cool to just think about it while you're playing. And then I'll draw and make something so inspired by that. So, yeah, consuming is a big part of making art. And I feel people kind of don't talk about it. Or weirdly, do you use
Yeah.
Pinterest?
Sometimes, yeah.
I've been using Pinterest because I've seen other artists use it. And it's so cool just to like pick art you like and then other art pops up and it's just like, oh, this is so fun.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at all this new stuff.
Yeah, I think just allowing yourself to have those other interests, right? It's going to like make your art so much better because you're not treating it like this strict regimented thing. You're actually like you're inspired by different things, right? Like even just commuting to my school, like that sounds so silly, but that was so inspiring to me. Like every single day I'd read something and then like I get excited, I'd paint about it at my school, read about something on the way home, get excited, paint at home. Like yeah, you have to allow yourself to do more than just paint or else you're going to get burnt out.
That's so true. Reading is such a big deal for me. I used to
Yeah.
hate reading because I'd read in school and I'd be like, this is boring. I hate this. But only recently, I've just been reading and I'm not good at meditating just because I'm bad at sitting in one spot and not
Yeah.
thinking about nothing. So reading has been like my little meditation moments because you have to sit and just look at this book and kind of focus on the book. If you're not focused on it, you kind of aren't paying attention to
Yeah.
the story.
Just wasting your time.
Right. Or I'll have to go back and reread pages because I wasn't paying attention. And reading, I don't know. After I read my brain, I'm like, yeah, I feel so clear and just calm and I breathe better. I don't know why. I just do. I love reading. That's so cool.
I agree. Honestly, reading's probably the most, like, I don't think a lot of people would guess it, but that's probably where I get a lot of my inspiration from. And it's not even like direct inspiration. It's more like it just makes me feel good. And then I feel good. So I'm inspired to make stuff. It like I'll read a business book and be inspired to paint like mushrooms. Like it makes no sense, but I just get excited to read.
What's your favorite book?
I was hoping you were gonna ask that because I'm not
Oh,
sure.
I asked it.
All right, here. I found this one on the street.
On the street.
The
What do you mean you found
Incredible
it on the
Scooter
street?
Cops. Like, I don't know if you guys have them where you are, but people just put up like boxes like on posts and you just like take a book and then like maybe leave a book if you have one. So I was just
in the
like
middle
downtown.
of the street?
Yeah, like in neighborhoods. I don't know if that's popular everywhere else.
I've heard of that concept. I went to a donut shop and they had that, but
That's
I've never
cool.
seen that in like the street.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like all over the place here.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah,
Anyways, tell me about
1970s
the
book about like they're like two scooter cops, and since they're on scooters, like they're able to like build a reputation with all the people on the streets better just because like they're on a scooter, and because of that they're able to solve all these murders.
That's cool. I was not expecting that. I
Yeah,
don't know what
and
I
it's
was expecting, but that's
no,
funny.
that has nothing to do with my art, right? Like cops in scooters. I don't know, just like reading anything gets me excited, really.
I should read more fiction books.
I don't know, I don't get why. Yeah, what do you normally read?
I don't know. I read weird self-help books or I'll read space books and I never understand what I'm reading, but I'm like, this is interesting. I don't know what it says, but I feel smart.
Right. You I remember you posting, I think it was Stephen Pressfield.
Oh, The War of Art. That's my favorite
Yeah,
book.
that's a good one.
I love that book. I read that book and I was like, wow. Like, I don't know, just how he talks about the muses and inspiration and just showing up to do what you need to do. I love that. That has to be my favorite book.
That's a good one. Yeah, I love that one. That was actually probably one of the first books I read outside of school, like recently, that got me back into reading.
It's such a good book. And yeah, same. I think that was one of the first books I read when I was like, okay, I'm going to start reading. And it's just so pretty how he wrote it. And it's cool where he talks about his struggles with art. I feel like that was the first time I read something and I was like, oh, other people feel this way too. And I don't know, it inspired me. I really like Dostoevsky. Have you read any Dostoevsky?
Oh, yeah? Books? I've never read them.
I love them. Notes from a Dead House, such a good book. I love this book. I was going to say this is my favorite book, but then The War of Art, come on.
Have to, yeah. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. That's cool.
I read it and I was a little nervous to read it just because, you know, like it's Russian, like old classic literature. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to read this, but I read it and I love it. I love things that explore like the human mind and because it's about being in prison and like the will to live and all of that stuff. And to just read about it and his experience and his life is so nuts. And I don't know, that book inspired me so much. I read it and I was like, I have to go draw after I read a few chapters.
I have a ton of books you would like that are like super similar. Is this a book club now? What else do you do for creativity?
Like inspiration?
You seem to really like movies just showing up in general, reading.
Honestly, I'm so boring. I think I'm the most boring person ever. Like, I barely watch movies. I need to watch them more. I barely play video games because I get nervous. I'm like, am I being lazy? Honestly, documentaries and random YouTube videos that have like 1,000 views or like 500 views of random people existing. I'm so nosy. You know what I love doing? I love searching random words on YouTube and then clicking filter and like least viewed
Yeah.
And watching like little kids in their room or like old people who just got a laptop being like, hello. And they like talk about nonsense. I love playing those while I'm drawing because I'm nosy. I'm like, how is
Right.
this person existing? Or like a iPhone unboxing, but of someone who's like not really famous. And then I like clicking on them. And it's like shot on their phone. And it's like, this is my phone and
Yeah.
this is what I do. And then I click on their other videos and I just analyze
Let's
them.
go down a rabbit hole. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
So that's what I do for inspiration. Be nosy.
I actually had a question. You mentioned like you feel guilty a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect your art? Do you think like feeling guilty is like in a way kind of motivating, where it's like, oh, I like would feel bad doing that, so I'm just gonna paint? Or do you think it's like hindering your?
I think it gets me to produce more, but I do feel sometimes I kind of drive myself crazy while I'm drawing because I'm drawing and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not perfect. This is not, I don't like this. This looks cheesy.
Right.
Or I contradict myself all the time because my art is very cartoony and I like that it's cartoony. But at the same time, I'm like, I hate this. So my pieces go through so much changes and feeling guilty. Yeah, it kind of, I can't do anything else but draw. Otherwise, I'm like, what am I doing? You're wasting too
Right.
much time.
Yeah. No, I definitely had the similar experience a couple years ago, probably in 2016. I think I was in like, I don't even know what grade that was. I'm not even gonna think about it. It was at a period where it's like, oh, I'm getting older. Like, I want to do this. Like, I really need to focus on this. I didn't play video games for like years, barely hung out with my friends. And like, it really helped me to grow, obviously. Right. But after a while, I was like, okay, like, I'm comfortable with like my skill level where I'm at, but there's like more to life than like
Yeah.
sitting in my like little studio grinding away. I don't know, maybe after a while like you'll grow out of that.
I don't know. I feel the problem is I would adore like bigger artists and see them, and it's just you only see them when they're in their studio, you know? Like you don't really
Yeah.
hear about when they were just existing and like doing whatever. So I think I brainwashed myself into being like, if I want to be great, I have to just sit and draw all the time. And it
Yeah.
drove me a little nuts. But then being on Instagram, you know what weirdly helped me? Watching people artists Instagram stories. I know that sounds like so like funny.
No, for sure.
But if you're on Instagram stories and you just see an artist like hanging out or reading a book or just laying in the grass and being like, I'm in the grass right now. Seeing that an artist that I adore and love is just existing and kind of is living, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
they're living and they still have make time to do what their work, you know? And I kind of get worried that if I relax, I'm going to get stuck relaxing and I'm never going to want to go do art.
Right.
So to see other people live life, I'm like, oh, I should probably go watch a movie and it's okay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you have to be inspired and like influenced by things, right? And I feel like when I'm just making things too much, it's like my only inspiration is like myself making things, right? I don't have any external stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's like this weird like loop. No, I definitely agree. I love seeing like the process, artists just like living their lives and like understanding that they're not art robots.
Yeah, I love when artists, that's why I like this podcast. Like, I love when artists just talk about things that don't relate to art because I'm like, I want to know your brain besides just art stuff. Like, I want to know how
Yeah.
you made this in not a technical aspect, but how you made it just who you are as a person.
Yeah.
That's
How
so
you
cool.
got to the point where your art is that, right?
Right. Or I love hearing about them. They're like, yeah, I just sat all day and played Animal Crossing and I don't care. I'm like, yes, I needed to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's a really weird spot to be in because yeah, it can like really motivate you. I was in the same mindset for a while and like I got like super burnt out for like I think like almost 2 months. While
How'd
I
you
was
get out
just
of
like
that?
not making anything. So after a while I got like so sick of not making anything. I was like, oh, I should get back to painting now.
Is this when you were on, what did you start posting to Twitter and stuff?
I think like last August, so like over a year now.
Whoa, that's kind of recent in the grand scheme.
Yeah, it's gone by really quick.
I
Yeah,
feel like you've been
pretty
there
hyped
forever.
about that. I know, me too.
That's so weird.
I still remember like my girlfriend had to like give me a tutorial on how to like tweet.
Really? You didn't like Twitter?
I had it in or not even high school, like junior high. I had it and then got back on. I had no idea how to use it. Like I totally empathize with people just starting with it. Their photos are all cropped weird.
It's confusing at first.
Have updated Instagram yet?
Dude, I hate it.
Me too.
I tried to post something yesterday and it took me to Reels. And I was like, what is this?
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Or the notifications, it's the shopping. Also, who uses, I've never used Instagram to buy anything. If I want to buy something, I'll like go to Google and search what I want to buy.
Yeah.
Like who
I think
clicks on the shopping and actually buys it through Instagram? I always, if I see pants I like, I will Google the pants or something. I don't know.
I'm the same way. And like half the shit on there is just like garbage anyways. It's just ads, right? So I'd rather be a Twitter artist at this point, I guess.
Same. Through Twitter, I see the linear growth. Like how it all connects. Oh, if this artist shares my art and someone else, I can see like where it's coming from. But Instagram, I know there's story shares, but even that, it's just confusing. Like how do people see my,
because like you have the story shares, and then if your posts do well enough to get promoted or something, but like it's all behind the scenes. You have no idea, right? It's just like you have to try. It might do well. But with Twitter, it's like you know exactly who it's coming from and like why it did well.
Some artists are so big on Instagram, and I'm like, how did you even, not in a jealousy way, it's just how did you do that?
How? Yeah. Honestly, like I'm the same. Like Twitter for me was really easy to grow, but like I've never had any luck with Instagram. Like I think I've been on there 8 years now.
Yeah, I don't get it. Or one post will randomly get a lot of likes. I'm like, how?
Honestly, I'm kind of over Instagram. I genuinely think it's going to be dead in like 2 years.
Especially with this update, it's like, I think people will still use it for a little bit just because it's Instagram. But after a while, it's going to be like, eh.
Yeah, until there's like a better photo sharing one. Or maybe just Twitter, I guess.
But what's going to happen? Not everyone is going to use Twitter, you know?
True.
Watch Instagram kill Instagram and then make a new platform.
I feel like that will happen. Fake competitor. Oh, I wouldn't even be surprised.
This is now a tech podcast.
Yeah. It went from a book club to tech.
I don't even, how long has this been?
How do you check?
I don't know.
This is not a tech podcast now. We lost that thread. Honestly, no, I think that's great.
I feel like we jumped around a little bit, but we talked about good topics.
Yeah. I feel like even in the past hour, we've improved a lot.
Seriously. When the podcast started, we're a little bit awkward. But yeah. Episode 2 is going to be fun. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I'm excited for our first interview too. Like so much ahead. Okay.
Yeah. If you guys have like topics you want us to talk about, love to hear suggestions. It's always hard to come up with ideas.
If y'all want to ask any questions or have topic suggestions, tweet at me or Jonathan. Or follow the Art podcast. Oh, also, if y'all have suggestions for people to be on, mention them.
Yeah,
and direct them towards our podcast. Yeah.
Spam them.
Spam everyone. Anyway.
They'll just get upset and not want to be on here.
No, they'll be like, what is this? And then they'll want to be on.
True. That was fun. Excited for next week.
Me too. Bye-bye. See you guys next week.